everybody, it's Caleb, back with some more bad fanfiction theater. And we have a guest again.
I'm back.
Yay! We talked about doing My Immortal, but I don't think we're brave enough for that just yet. Plus, that's pretty long. I said last story that it was 23 chapters. It's actually 44 chapters. That's going to take an entire night to maybe do 12 chapters. So that's going to take a lot longer than I wanted it to take. So we decided to try and look up stuff.
Yay, looking up stuff. It's the age of the information.
So after looking up a top 10 list of the worst fanfictions ever, we decided to do Legolas by
Yes, we're going to do Legolas.
Yes, do Legolas. I would rather be doing Legolas rather than reading this, but
Wouldn't we all?
yes,
Wouldn't we all?
as I was saying, we are reading Legolas by Laura. It is on freewebs.com, or if you're pretty lazy, then you can just click the link below. It'll be in the description. Alright, here we go. Legolas was riding along the woods. He was riding along the woods. Wouldn't that hurt?
Well, riding... See, it seems like he was riding outside the woods. Why would he be doing that? Well, I guess maybe he's... Never mind. We're trying to make sense for it.
And one day he found a baby wrapped. Yes, wrapped in cloth. So
Cough.
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 So he got off his horse and went to the baby. And then, do we not know how to put periods in anything? And we just keep going. And went to the baby, and then Legolas said, with no space there, or quotation, not quotation, grammar marks and the like.
Punctuation, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
This is why you keep having me back. I know all the scientific terminology.
Who left you here, little one? And again, with no space or punctuation or anything. And then the baby just cried.
No, it's cried, but it should be an I instead of a Y, so...
And then Legolas picked her up. Oh, it's a girl baby. And hold her and... Oh my god! Punctuation! Use it! It's there for a reason. Picked her up and hold her, and then the baby stooped. Stooped, there we go. Stooped, crying, and then Legolas said, with no punctuation, your name is going to be Laura.
That's a good Elvish name.
Yeah, because that's totally Elvish. And then Legolas and the baby went onto the horse and went back to the castle. Okay, where he lived. Finally, a period. Oh my god. Legolas said, father, mother. Okay.
Maybe the same person.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, is he addressing two different people or the same person? I didn't think elves could do that, but I don't know much about elves.
Yeah, no, they are fantasy elves, so they pretty much fulfill every fetish out there, I think.
I found this little baby in the woods, and then Legolas' mother...
He's still saying this.
There's
been no close quote.
And then Legolas' mother got up and walked down and said, how can people put baby in the sand to die? We don't know why the baby was out there. We don't know if that was to let the baby die or not. Then Legolas' father said, "We are going to keep her." Do you not know the characters' names? uh, then Legolas' father said, "We are going to keep her," and then Legolas was happy for some rising.
Summarizing?
He, what do you
What's that? What does that even mean?
what do you mean he was happy for some reason?
Oh, is that what it is?
It's supposed to be. You stupid retard. What do you mean? Would you like to fill in on why this is dumb? Because I don't think I can form words.
I think the biggest problem with it is that clearly there was absolutely no revisions done. Like, there was no revisions done. I can't even get my tenses right because of this story. There were clearly no revisions done. Maybe if this person had looked it over or handed it off to someone else and said, you know, see what you can do with this, it might be a bit better. But there's this huge run-on sentence. And then there's another huge run-on sentence. The two words "and then" are perhaps the most used words in this entire story so far.
And then, and then, and then, and then, and then,
I mean,
and then.
It makes one think of like an 8-year-old coming up to you who has just heard this really complicated story about Legolas finding some baby in the woods or something, and just trying desperately to tell it all to you before the child forgets. So this child is and then Legolas, and then the baby, and then Legolas' father, and then his mother, and then the baby, and then he named it Laura, and then he went back home, and
Okay, and 10 years later, it doesn't say and 10 years later, it's just 10 years later.
Legolas got up and went into Laura's room and said, "Good morning." And then
Is that Elvish?
I think so. It may be plebeian though. And then Laura said, "Good morning too."
Guess it is Elvish.
I think no. Yes. There's a word that should be outside of those
Yes.
quotes, but then Legolas said, "What's a matter?"
There was something wrong?
He didn't say what's the matter. He said, "What's our matter?" I don't know. Maybe his English just isn't very good, and he'd come across this term of matter in a book or something. Like, what's a matter? What does that mean? You're human. You should know this.
This common word you man people speak.
People. I love it. And then Laura said, "Legolas, I want to know how to ride a horse." Okay.
Sure.
Then Legolas said, "Okay, well, there you go, just as agreeable as we are."
Yes.
And then Legolas said, "First you get dresses and have something to eat, and then we will go for a horse ride lesson." You know, when I was learning horseback riding, I never got a dress. Now I'm wondering if I did it wrong. I never even got a singular dress, much less plural dresses.
You put it on the horse? Is it something you put between the horse and the saddle? I mean, what exactly do you need the dresses for?
I don't know, maybe it's because you have to spread your legs to get on the saddle, and it's easier if you're not wearing pants. But I guess it's easy if you're wearing pants too. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I can't really say since I never did it in a dress, but I don't know. Anyway. Meanwhile, Strider and Gandalf was riding towards where Legolas lived, and then Strider said, "Gandalf, I did not know Legolas had a sister." And then Gandalf said, "I did not know as well."
What? How do you know that? If you guys are riding there and you haven't seen Legolas, I guess, in forever, if you didn't know he found some kid We didn't.
At least 10 years.
Yeah, and we weren't even told if it was human or an elf or orc or whatever kind of kid it was. And then how could you even talk about this if you don't know anything about it? And did this lady not know that Strider's name is Aragorn?
Maybe he decided to take the alias again for some reason.
I don't know.
Meanwhile, 2 capitals, 2 separate words, both capitalized. Meanwhile, at Mondor, the Dark Lord, not the specific Dark Lord,
Just a Dark Lord.
A Dark Lord, because no, that, however, is not capitalized. Planning to kidnap the princess, but not Legolas.
Well, I don't know why he would do either or, but okay.
Then the boss of the orcs came and said,
Boss of the-
the boss of the orcs. Isn't that technically Saruman, though?
Well, it depends on when the story actually takes place.
Then the boss of the orcs came and said, I'll get her for you, sir. And then the Dark Lord said, and this time Dark is capitalized, but not Lord. So I guess this is different from the just, lowercase Dark Lord. Then the Dark Lord said, yes, you can.
He wasn't asking. So I don't know why you need permission.
I guess he's just trying to be, supportive, like, okay, I'm the boss of the orcs, but I'm there for you. I support you in this choice.
And the one thing, though, is I mentioned how we don't know exactly when the story takes place, but how we haven't really established that, and yet Gandalf and Aragorn, Strider, they know Legolas somehow.
Well,
We haven't established when this takes place, and if we're calling him Strider, I'm going to assume before the first book happened for the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
yeah, I was going to point out that, I know Aragorn knew Glorfindel before the first book of Lord of the Rings. I want to say he knew Legolas too, but I don't remember. Of course, in the films, all of the films, like the Peter Jackson films and the Ralph Bakshi film, it always has him having some sort of familiarity with Legolas.
Mm.
So, I mean, this could have taken place any time, really.
Yeah.
It's 10 years later, but, that's a handful
10 years
of
later from when to when and when and then again. Alright. Meanwhile, Legolas and Laura were horse riding, and then Laura said, Legolas, who's that? And then Legolas looked, and it was Gandalf and Strider. Legolas said, that is Gandalf and Strider.
Or in this case, Studio.
Oh. And then Strider said Legolas, and then Legolas said Strider, long time seeing. So he hasn't been away for that long, so he should know who Laura is. And then Strider said, how's you? What?
Which he would say, that's totally what Strider would say. Hey, yo, how's you? How's it going, dude?
And then Legolas said, I am fine. And then Gandalf said, who's this then? And then Legolas
Just get
said,
right to the point, Gandalf.
yeah. And then Legolas said, meet Laura. I found her in the woods when she was just a baby. We established this, and Gandalf and Aragorn were talking about this earlier, but they apparently never met her or something, whatever. I don't understand. This is dumb. Where was I? Laura was shy at first, and then Legolas said, Laura, come and meet Strider and Gandalf. Because I don't know what his real name is, I'm just calling him Strider. Cause.
Yeah, wouldn't they, the elves had a different name for him as well.
Yeah, but I don't remember what that was. Like, he had an elven name.
Yeah, let me look that up. Was it Estelden? Something like that.
I really don't remember.
Damn, I can't find it. Oh, Estel. Yes, Estel.
And then Laura said, "Hello, I'm Laura. You don't need to introduce yourself. Legolas did that for you. You can just say hi, it's nice to meet you, or something like that." Legolas, wait, what? Oh, no, the next part is what was said. Okay, I was confused for a minute.
Well, we all know Legolas is a princess.
Yes, he's a very pretty princess. Legolas said, "She is the princess." And then Strider said, "She is so cute." And then Legolas said, that will be my, what?
Flute?
That will be my flute? How? Is that Elvish? That's probably more Elvish. And then Gandalf said, "Why?" And then Laura said, "He protects me, that's why." So it's his flute that you're cute?
I guess that if he didn't protect her, she'd be, eaten or disfigured or something. I don't know.
I don't.
I mean, Gandalf apparently doesn't understand why either.
Okay. And then Legolas looked up and said, "I think we should go back to the castle." And then Laura said, "I can feel it too." Feel what? We were having pleasantries, and then suddenly, "Let's go back to the castle." Okay, I feel it too. What?
Legolas said, "Do you want to stay for a night?" And then Gandalf and Strider said, "Yes, please." And then they had tea, which I wasn't aware was an elvish custom, and went to bed.
Well, they are English in this story, apparently, so they drink tea, I guess.
Good point. Tea time, the world stopped for tea time. During the night, Legolas asked the guards, keep an eye on Laura's room. Meanwhile, the orcs climbed up the window and grabbed Laura, and then Laura woke up and screamed, and the guard went into her room and saw lots of orcs, and then Legolas ran down the hall. Then Legolas
still haven't established why any of this is happening.
Yes, well, the boss of the orcs said so.
Evil presence, if we felt something evil, we don't know.
We're
waiting.
Then Legolas said, "Where is Laura?" And the guard said, "The orcs took her."
Well, the guards didn't do anything. They just, I guess, saw a bunch of orcs and then they left.
Yeah, all it says is they went into a room and saw lots of orcs, and then Legolas ran down the hall and asked where she was, and by that time apparently they had taken her, because orcs are known for their quick stealth and efficiency, which is why Saruman used them.
Meanwhile, the orcs was back at Mondor, and then Laura said, "Put me down," and then the orcs did, and then the Dark Lord came out of the fire, and said, "Welcome, Laura. I still don't know why you had her kidnapped or how they went from what is that forest's name?
Lothlorien. Oh, well, the Forest of Lorien.
Yeah. And then they go back to, I'm assuming this is supposed to be Mordor instead of Mondor.
Presumably.
Doesn't that take like months, if not like a year or more to get there?
It would take quite some time. They would at least be marching for days.
So did Legolas and them just not send a party out to try and save her? Did they just happen?
I guess not. I'd also like to present this question: if this Dark Lord apparently knows not only Laura's name but of her existence and of the fact that she is the princess, then why doesn't Gandalf know? You'd think that he would know this. because he's very aware. And of course, for that matter, Aragorn should know too, because as a ranger, if he's Strider, I mean, whether he's the Ranger Strider or Aragorn the hero or whatever, he's still got his ear to the grapevine of all the Rangers' information. So they should know this if this Dark Lord, this mysterious nameless Dark Lord, knows it. You think?
Yes, is on the move or wants something, but apparently not. Apparently, we really don't give a shit about this person who we've raised for 10 years.
And I guess Legolas just didn't see fit to send any sort of messages or letters or anything like that to his friends. And
let's see. And then Laura looked at him and said, "No, it can't be. Why?" And surely this isn't Sauron, because he has no body anymore. If anybody actually, has read Lord of the Rings and understands how the One Ring was formed and the like, but whatever. And then she tried to run away, but the orcs got her. Well, I assume the orcs did, because I doubt they left.
Yeah, and typically there are like dozens of them at any moment. I mean, that's one of the reasons why they're so dangerous, is because there's so many of them. They're not exactly the best, but they are kind of disposably voluminous.
Yeah. Then the Dark Lord said, "Put her into the cell and bet her, and also do whatever you want with her, but do not kill her."
Bet her?
Yes, bet her.
It's like, what, I got 10 gold coins on whether Pippin eats it all or not? Or...
50 on the hobbits.
You go be mad, you do.
Then the orcs took her to the cell and throw her into the cell, and then they shut the door. Well, that's kind of what you do when you're throwing somebody in a cell. Laura go up and went to the window. You have a window?
It's a nice cell.
I assume this would be in a dungeon, which would, in theory, be below ground.
Oh, well, not necessarily. I mean, maybe it was a fancy tower or something.
Laura go up and went to the window and looked out, and she was wishing that Legolas or someone will save her. Meanwhile, why do we keep separating meanwhile?
I don't know.
Meanwhile, back at the castle of Milkwood.
Oh my god!
It's not Milkwood.
It's Mirkwood. It's supposed to be Mirkwood. And actually, I don't think they live there anymore, because it was taken over, and that's why it's called Mirkwood. But maybe I'm wrong here.
No, if I remember The Hobbit right, the elves were still in there. They were the elves of Mirkwood. They were forest.
Yeah, but I think by the time of Lord of the Rings, there was a tremendous darkness in Mirkwood, which had led to it being Mirkwood, since it was before that it was named something different, I think. Anyway, it's not important. It's not really relevant to this at all. We're just desperately trying to distract ourselves.
Well, so far this is just dumb, but it's not as bad as Twyla.
No, it's not. It's not that bad yet. But I don't know. Maybe it'll get there. It can only aspire to that level of those depths of
hell.
Institute. Yeah, really. Although I do have to say that if you were going to do a Legolas doujinshi, then you should definitely call it Milkwood. I can see the cover in my mind. I may have to do it.
Now I'm thinking really bad things of what I want to go looking for online later. It mostly involves Legolas in certain situations with certain other characters of the story.
But not this situation.
No. Meanwhile, back at the castle of Milkwood, Legolas
I'm sorry. I try not to laugh.
Legolas was getting the army ready to go and save Laura because he couldn't send a rescue party to go ahead of them in case. Really?
Well, you know how it goes. And also, I'd like to point out that the elves in forests, they're pretty much in their element. So,
Yeah.
if the elves wanted to track the orcs before they got out of Mirkwood, they probably would be able to do so.
Yes. Meanwhile, Laura was sitting on the floor, and then the door opened, and it was some orcs. And the orcs tied Laura with some change, and then one of the
Oh no!
and orcs tied Laura with some change, and then one of the orcs stripped her,
Oh
and
no,
then
striped her.
striped her, and
So
then
they
he wrapped
painted stripes on her.
he,
What?
then he wrapped her, and
No, they totally raped her.
yes,
My God, we are reading a story. I cannot believe this. This is like
oh, this isn't news to me.
right out of left field. Thank you.
I was trying to avoid any story with anything to do with rape, but considering this story, I don't think we're going to go into too much detail about how it happened, other
Well,
than
that's-
it did.
Well, thank goodness for that, at least.
They striped her, and then they wrapped her, and then...
No, raped her.
Is
It is actually spelt right.
Okay.
Surprisingly, they must have used dictionary.
My bad. And then they raped her, and then Laura said, "Go away, you bastard."
I love how casually this is done. You know, as you would be after a situation like that,
Yeah.
you know.
Be emotionally unstable or terrified or hurting or anything.
Go away, you bastard.
Then another orc came with a whip and whipped her hard.
I wiped her.
Like, with a whip. Okay. I didn't realize you could clean people up with a whip, but okay.
Well, it would be whipped, except it doesn't have the extra P in it, so... Of course, if that Vicroya character were here from Twyla, she could provide the P.
Yes.
She's always randomly pissing, so...
And popping up when she wasn't there.
I know!
Certainly having something to do with the story, even though she wasn't there.
See, if you're wondering what we're talking about, you've got to go back and...
Read the... how many 7 parts?
Yes, yes, you have to listen to our 7-part saga, Twyla, the girl who louved a vampire.
Who was in Louvre?
Oh, right, that's right.
Vampire. No, it was vampire.
Was it really in the title?
A fiery pyre.
Oh, right. But all throughout the story, it was vampire, though.
Yeah, vampire. Wiped her hard, and then the orcs all to get her, bit her almost to death, and then the Dark Lord, which is finally capitalized, so I guess we are talking about Sauron now, came in with a tube of poison, and then he...
Posian.
Oh, Posian. And then he injected into Laura... What?
Injected?
That's not very nice, dude. She's already been raped and, hit.
Wiped
with
and
yes.
vetted.
I don't think she wants to be injected into anymore.
Whether it's Posian or whatever it is.
Yes.
Oh, I get to do the transition?
Yes, if you want.
Okay. A few hours later, Legolas and the others was on the way to Mondor to save Princess Laura, whose title is not capitalized.
Yes.
Meanwhile, in the cell where Laura was being kept, Laura woke up and she looked on her body. There was blood and scars. She could only move her right arm but not her left.
Stars don't form that fast. Sorry, continue.
It's quite all right. I was more concerned with the complete and utter absence of punctuation. Then Laura said, "I feel so cold," and then she can't see very well. I'm sorry, that was just... At the front gates of Mondor was Legolas and the others, and then they said, "Let Laura go."
All this happened in like a day?
All this happened apparently within the next 5 minutes.
Mordor is not that close to Mirkwood. Milkwood, my bad.
And then the Dark Lord said no. and then Legolas said, right, listen, I will climb up to the cell and get Laura, and you and the others will find another way. All right, you know what? The way that's phrased, I get this really, really street sort of accent in my head when I think of Legolas saying it like this. Then Legolas said, right, listen, I'll climb up the cell and get Laura, and you and the others find another way in. Then Strider said, all right. And then Legolas started to climb up.
This makes sense.
Strider's like, yeah, whatever, I guess.
Mordor is how huge, and then we just get the little puny army of Milkwood. Because in the movie, we had an entire army of elves and men. And I think some others showed up to help, but we had a pretty big army just to go up against Mordor. Awkward silence.
I wasn't sure if you were done or not.
Yes. I
wanted you to be able to express your anger.
Every time I go off on a tangent, I get lost because there's a big string of words that run onto each other.
Meanwhile, Strider and the others ran into Mondor.
Why?
They just ran into Mondor? I thought that they were like...
I'm sure you're dead now.
And went into the castle.
How?
I guess through the front door.
You have to get through.
Gandalf said, I will go and kill the Dark Lord, and you and the others go and help Legolas.
That was the whole point of taking the there to Mount Doom.
Well, there were a few problems with Lord of the Rings, that Gandalf really didn't do hardly anything, and he could have, or like
some Baelor or whatever that thing was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean he killed the Balrog and everything, but not really. I mean he just sort of ended up falling into a pit with it. All he really told it was that it couldn't pass, and then he ended up breaking the bridge, and he screwed that up too. I mean, when they were at the little Council of the Ring, and all that,
mm-hmm.
and someone brought up, hey, couldn't we give it to Tom Bombadil? Because he was one of the nature gods, and his wife Goldberry was too, and she was the daughter of the river, So you have these gods around, these nature gods like Tom Bombadil, who could not be corrupted by the ring, and Gandalf was just like, no, he wouldn't really understand what he was supposed to be doing. And I'm reading it, I'm thinking, so? Just tell him to do it. He doesn't need to understand it. He just needs to frickin' do it. Or call one of those eagles or something that you're always summoning.
Story.
I know you wouldn't, but you don't have much of one anyway. Once the Fellowship breaks up, it's not as much of a story.
Yeah, because then you got 3 separate parties to follow and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, I'm getting way off topic. I'm sorry. Anything to avoid concentrating on this story.
So they ran into Mordor and got killed, because that was what would logically happen.
Well, apparently it didn't happen this time, and Gandalf is very...
They're going to kill the Dark Lord, even though he can't do that without throwing the ring into Mount Doom.
Well, maybe he's going to use the ring to kill him. I don't know.
But did they even have the ring?
I don't know. We don't know when the story takes place. They may not have even had the ring. Presumably they would have had other rings, but not the ring.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Studio said, be careful, which is one word, so it would be like, be careful. Studio said, be careful. And then Gandalf said, I will, don't you worry about me. That's awfully blithe, Gandalf.
Yes. Meanwhile, Legolas got to the cell where Laura is. Legolas said, Laura, are you in there? Well, if you got to the one where she's in, you would know she's in there. Because how would you know that's the one she's in? And then Laura said, "Oh, Legolas, you finally came."
That's what. Never mind.
I'm like, well, that's what she said. And then Legolas said, "Are you alright?" I'm pretty sure you could see that she's not. And then Laura said, "No, I'm not alright."
Perceptive girl.
Yeah. And then Legolas said, "They bet you up and raped you. Also, the Dark Lord, which is no longer capitalized, just Dark Lord, gave you the poison."
No, Posium.
Oh, my bad. Poison. The poison. And what potion? What? Dude, how do you know that? How do you know that? What told you that? And then Laura said, oh, okay. How did you know that? Then Legolas said, "Wait, hold on, I just realized something.
Yes.
Legolas found her when she's a baby. This takes place 10 years later.
Yes.
All this is happening to a 10-year-old.
Yes, that's why I was so appalled earlier. That's why I was like, we are reading this story.
I didn't realize that until right now.
Yes, it dawned on me rather explosively at the time, and I was thinking, oh my god.
I'm still not fazed. That should say something to the amount of really bad stories I have read. Or really dark stories, maybe I should say. How did you know that? Then Legolas said, "When I was your age, they did the same thing to me."
What? What? This is like the way that this has such a casual feel to the writing that it makes it seem like everybody's just being very casual about this.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
like,
oh, you know, when I was your age, that is the same thing happened to me. You know, mass all grave. You know, that's fine.
But if shouldn't they have expected this then?
You'd imagine so.
Much more prepared than, oh hey, watch her room. Okay. What the fuck? What's going on?
Also, something that I've been thinking about that I didn't mention at the time, and I guess I'm just going to go ahead and mention it now, but elves are known for being very perceptive.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the forest.
Yes.
Where you would be a fool to try and march an army or a force in thinking that the elves hadn't noticed you. They can move practically invisibly in forest, and, you know, so an army of orcs not only penetrated the entire wood of Mirkwood, but got to Milkwood Castle, got in the castle somehow, which, as I said, you know, orcs are well known for being extremely efficient, like ninja operatives. And nobody noticed or did anything until they had long since gone to Mordor. Maybe something like a beta reader could have, you know.
I don't think this person needs a beta reader. I think this person needs to actually watch and read the books and take notes. Then Laura said, "Can you get me out of here?" with no question mark or any form of punctuation still. And then Legolas said, "Okay, stand back." And then he ran back and ran towards the door and knocked it down. How? It's a cell door. Wouldn't that hurt you?
Well, you know, elves are super strong.
No, they're not.
Well, apparently they are in this story.
Oh.
You can just go ahead with the next one.
Okay. All right. Laura said, "Wow, that was really impressive."
I'd be pretty impressed if someone as willowy as Legolas had knocked down a door.
I think I would have more emotion than, wow.
Yeah, her lack of punctuation is really. I think that's part of what gives everything such a casual air, because there's no punctuation anywhere. So there's no, like, it's not, be careful, it's be careful.
Yeah.
Or be careful, as the case may be. or something like, how did you know that? It's, how did you know that? Oh, they did the same thing to me.
That's...
Just like, whatever, like, yeah, you want to get some coffee later? Yeah, we'll get some coffee. We'll talk about the orcs betting you.
Laura said, wow, and then Legolas looked and saw she was covered in blood, which is kept blood.
She was coved in blood.
Oh, coved in blood. And scars. Scars don't make that fast. And she's probably still bleeding if she's covered in blood. And scars also, she was naked. Well, yes, we know that. And Legolas should be able to understand and know that too, and shouldn't be just now making that observation.
Also, we have an extra quote here that makes it seem like, I don't know, but
like somebody's about to talk, but they're not. I don't know how you mistake the quote button for the space button, but okay. And then Legolas said, why they did it to you, not me? What? You just stated that they did that to you when you were her age, which was much younger, I think, than a human.
Maybe he's asking why they did it to her now instead of him.
Again?
But, yeah, I guess. See, maybe they thought we were too old, Legolas.
Yeah, they're a bunch of pedophiles. And then the orcs came and said, because she got a power and she can destroy us.
No, destroy.
Destroy us, all the bad guys.
She can take away all their toys.
What? I'm just looking at the whole... I'm like, so now you mention what? Dumb. Stupid and dumb.
So they did that to her because she has a power and can take away their toys.
Yes.
But they did it to Legolas anyway when he was younger? Why would they do that?
Shits and giggles?
I guess.
Why not? We're evil, so let's do that.
Then the fright began.
It's been for a while, guys.
Legolas got out his bow and arrows and started ferrying at them. Then Legolas saw some swords and said, Strider, is that you? He just saw some swords floating around. Strider, is that you?
It's really Strider.
I'm pretty sure it's some sort of enchanted or cursed item. I would stay very clear.
Yeah, you don't want that manipulating your mind or anything, like a certain ring does.
And then Strider said, yes, it is. And then Legolas and the others started to kill the orcs.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, Gandalf is having a fun time trying to destroy the Dark Lord. Gandalf said, I wish Frodo and Merry and Pippin and Sam was here. And then the sword came out of nowhere and said, some wished us here. And then Gandalf turned and said, Frodo Baggins, why are you doing here?
What the... So, why... What? What?
Then Frodo said, we came to help you and also we got rid of the ring. That's good. We could have used it right now, but...
establish any of this. Gandalf just makes a wish and they poop. That's not how it works.
Makes a wish and they poop?
Can't do anything because magic ain't supposed to fix everything.
And then the Dark Lord said, oh no. And then the magical powers from Gandalf destroyed the Dark Lord. Meanwhile,
How it works!
mean,
Whoa.
meanwhile, Legolas and Strider and the others was helping Laura down, and Strider took off his cape and put it around Laura.
Well, that was awfully nice of him.
Although it's a cloak.
Yes. A few hours later, Legolas and the others are on the way back to the castle. Legolas said, "We must go to Rivendell to get Laura better." Okay, I guess. Then Gandalf said, "I think you are right." You think. You don't know this, Gandalf.
Then Gandalf
They turned around. Wait, they turned around.
kicked back another beer.
And then we decided to go to Rivendell instead, so we turned around. What was you saying?
Then Gandalf kicked back another brewski.
Smoke some more of that hobbit weed.
I think you're right. Keep in mind, this is only a few hours later, so apparently
Yes.
Gandalf flew them there.
And then they turned around and went to Rivendell for some reason. Instead of just going home to Mirkwood, because they were already halfway home to Mirkwood, I guess. Legolas looked down on Laura and put his hand onto Laura's head, and she was burning up.
No, brooning up.
Brooding up. Strider went aside of Legolas' horse and looked and said, "She is getting worse."
Woes. She's getting woes.
She's getting woes. I'm imagining letters in proper place now. And then Legolas said, "I know. You want me to do this, or you want to do this last paragraph?"
Which would you prefer?
I'm on the roll. A few hours later, they were at Rivendell, and Legolas stayed at Laura's side every day until she wakes up, and then Legolas kissed Laura on her lips. She's 10 years old, and your adopted sister. I can be story, but come on, guys. And then she moved her arms around Legolas, and then
She just moved her arms around? Was she like flailing around?
Maybe.
She's like floating her hands beside. Does this bug you? I'm not touching you. Does this bug you?
And she moved her arms around, around Legolas, and then Legolas said, "All you alright? All you alright?" Is he asking everybody else who went on this dumb journey? And what happened to that army they supposedly had? I don't know. And then Laura said, "Yes, I am." Legolas said, "I am so happy." And then Laura said, "Do you want to be my boyfriend?" "That's your brother, and you're 10 years old."
Maybe he's just humoring her because he's like, oh, it's so cute. She's a little kid, you know. Like,
And then Legolas said, "Yes, I will be your boyfriend."
why am I trying to explain this away? This is such a disturbing story. Oh my god.
And then Laura and Legolas kissed again. She's 10 years old. Laura said, "What happened to me, Legolas?" "What do you mean, what happened to you?" "I think you know what happened to you. You were stolen from your bed. Your guards and family did absolutely jack off. You were taken to Mordor,
Mondor.
raped and beaten and given a potion, I guess."
Remember, it's Mondor.
Mondor. And then instead of taking you home to Milkwood, they turned around and went to Rivendell instead. And then Legolas said, "You got kidnapped by the orcs, and they raped you, and also bet you almost to death. And then the Dark Lord gave you some poison."
Potion.
Okay, poison. I'm like, I don't know if that's right or not. So, every time. And then Lord said, "Why I can only move on arm. You can only move." Okay. And then Legolas said, "Your left arm is broken." How did you miss this? How
And they didn't bandage it or put it in a sling or anything. It's sort of lying there and she can't move it.
I guess.
Great idea.
Then the door opened and it was Strider, and then Laura said, "Hello, Strider." And then Strider said, "I see you are awake." And then Laura.
Well, that's a good ending.
I guess.
And then Laura. That just sort of sums up this entire story, doesn't it?
Yes. So, not important to anything and had no rhyme, reason, or purpose. What are your thoughts on this story?
Possibly one of the most disturbing stories ever because of its casual approach to, you know,
10-year-old.
all the really disturbing shit.
Like, we were long after that part.
Oh my god. It's so casual, though. I mean, it's just. I think, honestly, that proper punctuation and grammar might actually make it less of a casual sort of lol rapes story, which is just really terrifying. In its sort of blithe discussion of these disturbing titles, you know, these disturbing subjects, and like. None of this is really ever explained. Like, nothing is really ever done. Like, she has the power to destroy them, but who destroys them? It's Gandalf.
Yeah, and the hobbits after they suddenly show up and like, oh,
And the magical.
we also got rid of the ring.
The magical teleporting hobbits.
My brain hurts, but not as bad after Twyla.
Well, Twyla was a saga. Twyla was.
I don't think that was a saga. I think that was a chore.
I'll call it a saga. It gives us a more sort of a respectability about it.
So, this story is dumb.
Yeah.
I tend to like elements that are sort of, you know, like pedophilia and rape in stories if they're done well, you know, and focus more on a psychological aspect and is done in a logical manner of how that would happen.
Yeah, I mean, you can read. I think the thing about that is that a story has to be well written in order to deal with controversial topics like that. And it can be extremely interesting, an examination of it done in a way that is, you know, deep and psychological and character building rather than just, oh, by the way, some orcs came in here with a whip and they were making me make bunches of bets and things. Oh yeah, they did that same thing to me when I was a kid.
Yes.
Let's
for some reason. Though we don't know how Legolas got saved or why.
Yeah. Or why they even did it to him in the first place, because their reasoning seemed to be that she had some sort of power in her that she never used.
So, that's Legolas by Laura, everyone. And,
please hold your applause until the end.
Yes. And, I'm sorry. I don't know if this was all that as entertaining as Twyla was, but we suffered through it and read it. And it was pretty short.
I wasn't expecting the twists in the story, though. I don't think the author actually was either. But
when I would look up other stories for the show, I kept happening on this, but I never actually found out anything about it until I looked up that top 10 list, and I'm like, let's do this. I keep seeing it. Oh, okay.
Well, now we know, and knowing is half the battle, right?
Yes. I don't think it deserves to be on a top 10 list, though, for worst fanfic ever.
I don't know. I mean, it's so casually disturbing. I think that's the thing.
By it. I'm just kind of like, okay, it's a thing, it exists.
Well, I wouldn't be so disturbed by it if it didn't have just this sort of casual air about it. It's just like, this is something that happens every day, you know, and it's really unsettling to me. I wasn't expecting that. I just thought this was going to be just like, oh, la la la, you know, girlish sort of fantasy, being Legolas' sister. Oh my god! You know, like,
But you do
what?
have to realize that this is bad fanfiction theater, and being raped or almost being raped is pretty much a theme, going to be a theme soon on the show. Because these stories contain it to a degree, or at least mention it to an extent.
I just can't believe how I just sort of coincidentally popped in there. I just noted, there you go. There you go. Well, thank you.
Well, I think that's all we have in us for at least this episode.
Yes, time to return to Milkwood.
Yes. So, that's pretty much it. There is, as far as I know, no other part to this story at all. That's just how it ends.
In a way, it's sort of almost like the flow of consciousness, you know, like James Joyce with Ulysses, you know.
Uh-huh.
And then yes, I said yes, I will, yes. Just like you know, and then Laura. It's almost profound if you want to look at it that way. Actually, I'm just trying to legitimize the experience that we just had, and I think it's like some sort of defense mechanism to try and reach towards any sort of legitimacy here. This was intellectual on some level. I have to give it that. I have to give it that level.
It was intellectual in that we made us realize that we needed to use punctuation well.
Yes, it taught us the value of punctuation. And
maybe writing a better structure of sentences than putting "and" everything, and
yes,
actually
and then
describing the scene more and giving more logical sense to what's going on.
And it also taught us things about orcs. They're compulsive gamblers.
Yes.
And they will make you bet constantly if they take you prisoner.
Mm. Hey, I win my bet, don't I? I bet 50 gold on the hobbits.
You totally did. And I said you'd have to be crazy at those odds. But see, there you go.
Yay!
Hurrah! Who did I put 10 gold on?
I forget.
Oh, I put 10 gold on Pippin was going to eat all of that.
Oh, yes.
Presumably he did, so we've both scored a victory this day.
Mm. Well.
And then Laura.
Yes, and then Laura.
The end.
Well, guys, I'm Caleb Cat.
And you certainly are.
Don't start this again. I'll have to hurt you.
I'm Hushicho.
And this has been Bad Fanfiction Theater.
Be well.
Bye.